Hello, this is going to be the makeup for the stepmother. This will be going off of the original base video, so that is already done. It is going to start by using a cool brown tone to contour the nose. I am going for a really sharp nose contour here. I want it to be very thin and very like triangular, so you can kind of see that shape that I am making with the nose. And it's just like a cool brown tone. I'm using a big fluffy brush and I'm just making sure it is all really nice and blended out and smooth. You want to make sure that contour is on the sides of your nose and not the top, but that it softens into the top as it goes. I am also going to be putting a little on the end of the nose just to make it nice and rounded at the tip. And I am looking for a brush, but in a second I will put a little bit right above the tip of my nose to really round that out. So as you can see, I used a slightly smaller brush, and I'm going in and blending it with that fluffier brush just to make it really nice and smooth. And it doesn't matter if it looks a little muddy because we're going to go back in with some concealer in a second and clean it up. So now we are taking that concealer, I'm putting a little dot in the middle of my nose and then a very thin line above that shadow just to really pop the center of the bridge of my nose. Again, I'm going to go back in with that fluffy brush and just really make sure those lines are nice and blended out. And you can see that that makes a nice, sharp, straight shape with that little rounded point at the end. Post that, I'm going to go in with that same cool shade and contour my cheeks. So we are going for a pretty sharp looking contour here. Very like Angelina Jolie and Maleficent kind of shape. And we just really want to make it nice and sharp. You are going to kind of start at the top of where your shadow would be, and then you can blend it down. And you can see me kind of bringing that contour down just to really sharpen up those cheekbones. And then I am just softening up the bottom edge to make it a lot smoother, but mostly just getting that shape before anything else. Perfect, now that we've got the shape, I'm going in with my beauty blender and just really softening that lower edge so that we get that nice sharp shadow, but it doesn't just look like lines on the face, it looks like an actual shadow. I'm then going to be going in with this really stiff brush. You can use any like stiff foundation brush for something like this, and I'm just really making sure that that is a nice smooth contour. I blended this side a little much, so I'm just going to add a little more in and blend it back out because we don't want that contour to get lost. So as you can see on a contour like this, I will do a lot of blending, and then I'm going to go back in underneath and cut my jawline with that concealer so that it makes it all really smooth and really pop. This is going to get that sharp look without it looking super muddy. Perfect. Now that we have that done, it is just showing how that sharpens those cheekbones a little bit. And then I'm just getting my reference back up because my screen decided to shut down. But then we are going to be moving on to our eyebrows. So I'm taking a really thin, sharp brush, and I'm going to go in with this white to add that kind of aged effect. In other cases, I would put like concealer over the hairs of my brows, but we're not looking for a ton of aging, just a little tiny bit. So this is just to kind of create that white base to then add in a little bit of grays and really ashy browns to kind of give it those older eyebrow look. This is a really good way to age your eyebrows without completely blocking them out. So as you can see, they're a lot lighter, and then I'm going to go in with that darker color that I'm about to point out. And just get in the very corner of the brush, and I'm going to just tap it in there in little spots, and then I will use the brush to make them into little streaks. Then that will really smooth it out and give it that like salt and pepper brow look. Then I'm going to take this eyeshadow brush and I'm going to show you, these are the greens down in the corner that I'm going to be working with. And I will be adding little bits of yellow just to really brighten it up. But we're going to start with that darker green just to give us a good base color to start working off of on our eyelids. As you can see here, I am just creating that kind of like out, like off of my lid shape. And I want it to kind of come to a point in my outer corner. And then I'm bringing that green in a little more while leaving my very inner corner plain. And I'm just doing the same thing on the other eye. I prefer to do each step one eye at a time and then like do the other eye before I move on to the next step, because it usually gets a more even look on both eyes for me personally. If you have a different way you like to do it, you can totally do it that way. So then I'm going in with that much brighter green, that like lime neon green, and I am going into the inner corner of my lid and blending it out across my eyelid just to get that really nice smooth green gradient. And I am just tapping it first just to make sure we get that pigment on there before I blend it back out. And then I'm taking more of that darker green and I am just smoking it out underneath my eyes so that it all looks connected. I am now getting this kind of smaller stippling brush, and I'm going to be going in with this lighter shimmery shade just to add a little brightness to the inner part of my eye and a little sparkle. As you can see, I am not blocking out that green color, but just putting that kind of lightly on top of it to add a little pop. So now you can see it's nothing too dramatic, but definitely not plain all the way through. Now I am just taking that other eyeshadow brush, the fluffier one, and making sure that everything is a nice gradient and there are no super harsh lines of eyeshadow other than on that outer edge. I'm then going to go in with that lime green again, and I'm going to put it on the high blush points of my face. So if you're going for a sharper look, you're going to put it, you would normally put your blush higher in your face, but we are going in with the green so it matches the look of the Stepsisters. And I'm just going to blend that out at the very edges so that the pigment doesn't get lost, but that it is not super harsh on either of the edges. It just kind of feathers out. And you'll see me quite a few times kind of check between the two. So now I'm going to be taking this really thin angled brush and I'm going to be dipping into this really dark shade right here. This I'm going to use to make basically a false eyeliner wing. Especially starting out, this can be a really good way to get the eyeliner shape how you want, is starting with a thin brush and going in with a really dark eyeshadow. It gives you a lot more control on the shape, especially if your brush is small enough. It is also a good way to achieve that kind of smudged out liner look. So if you want a wing that's not super harsh, this is a good way to do it too. So then I'm just going to take the bottom of that wing and connect it to my lower lash line so that everything is nice and smooth. Alrighty, so now I'm going to go in with a black felt tip liner. I really like ones that have a very sharp point, and I am just going to define that line a little more because I like to use that eyeshadow line as basically my guide. And then I'm just gonna draw those nice sharp little wings and connect them in. Just like the eyeshadow, I'm going to bring it down to my lash line just so it is nice and triangular and smooth. It may look a little weird where it ends, but that will not be noticeable with mascara. It is just so that your eyes don't look too hooded when you line them. Now we're going to go in and, as you can see, my hand is a little shaky here, but we're going to do these 3 little bumps underneath the eyeliner. I like to start from the very first one from partway over my outer corner and then just bring it in to the liner. And this one did not go nearly as smoothly as the last one, but that is okay, you know, nothing's perfect. And as you can see, I pointed I like that first one more, but that is okay. So now that we have those done, I'm going to use this same really thin tipped liner, and you're going to see me kind of kiss the back of my hand. It's how I make sure there's no moisture on my lips before I line this, because I want it to be really sharp. And I'm just going to extend the natural outer corners of my lips just a tiny bit. Then when we go in to line our lips, I'm going to just take a black lip liner and going to connect it so the corners of my lips are really nice and sharp. I really like this look for the Stepmother's lips specifically, because it gives it that kind of like almost evil, like grandiose villain style lip. And I think it's a really fun way to do lips, especially when you have this character with this like sharper edge to them. And so I am just lining out the shape that I want with these black liner, and then I'm going to connect it to the very point of that little line so it looks nice and sharp. And then using the same liner, I'm going to fill in the outer corners. This will make it so that throughout anything, the lip liner itself will stay clean, because the outer corners of your lips is where the most like movement will happen, and therefore a lot of the fallout will happen. Now that I'm happy with my liner, in this video I'm taking a black lipstick. A dark green lipstick will also work. And I am just going to fill in my lips with that. And I'm using that liner as just my little guideline to make sure everything stays in a really nice clean shape. So now, as you can see, that sharper outer corner really makes the lips look very like villainy. So now I'm going to let the lips sit for a second, and then I'm going to come back in with this really small rounded brush, and I am going to zhuzh up the lips a little bit. So I'm going to be going in with this really pretty green glitter, and I'm just going to tap that on the wide points of my lips before kind of tapping it out to those edges. And it gives it that kind of green, like lustery effect without it needing to be like a green shimmer lipstick, because that is really difficult to find. So I am just, like I said, starting at the biggest part of my lips and then kind of tapping the excess product down into the corners so that we don't get a bunch of smudging. And just making sure I get everything all covered. I don't want to miss any spots. There, you can see it has that really pretty like lustery effect to it. Now I'm going to go in with this really pretty gold, and I'm just going to do this on the center of my lips and kind of buff it out a little bit. This is just going to highlight the very front part and give it a really nice rounded effect right in the center. Now that is the Stepmother's makeup. I hope this was helpful, and if you have any questions, please let me know. Thanks.